Hi, my name is Danielle Attar, and I did obesity. So I wrote down the relevant definitions I thought that we all should look over before going into this. So I wrote obesity, a condition characterized by the excessive accumulation and storage of fat in the body. BMI, which is body mass index, weight divided by height. And then the CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And then the one we may not know is the ACSM, which is American College of Sports Medicine. So obesity stats. So I looked online for obesity stats around the whole United States. So the lighter colors those are the states that are in better condition than the darker colors. So as you can see, Indiana, definitely not the worst, but not the best. It was the 10th out of all 50 states as the most obese. So I wrote the obesity epidemic is growing rapidly in America. This picture shows the rates of obesity by color, green being the least and red being the worst, as I just said. In West Virginia, hitting first in 2016 for the highest obesity rate at 37.7, which kind of shocks me because I thought it would be more of the West Coast, but I guess since it's warmer there, they're in less clothing, so they probably are worried about their image more. In the winter, you can hide it with sweatshirts, I guess. Okay, so obesity in children. So I looked up the obesity rates in children, and they were just as high as for adults, which was very alarming. So the rates of obesity are growing more and more every year in our children. According to Trust for America's Health, obesity rates for ages 10 to 17 ranged from 19.2 to 37.7. And as you can see, those are the lunches that the kids are eating, more healthier options. The nutrition programs that are now in place in schools, I think, are a lot better than they were. So at least we're making a stride for that through the USDA. So the main challenges. The rates are growing every year. The new generation is becoming the first that might not live as long as their parents or live as healthy of lives as their parents. We need to start with the children, of course, getting people to stop eating so unhealthy, getting people to exercise, and the financial cost of being obese. So if you see that child, you wonder why they aren't using the kid cup, and it looks like an extra large cup, and he's reaching for the fries. We definitely need to start with our children. The children are going to be our new generations. So if we don't start there, and they're just creating unhealthy habits through their parents or through their what they think is cool, then they'll keep those unhealthy habits for the rest of their lives. Okay, so obesity contributing to communities' prior health issues. So obesity and physical activity was 58%, heart disease and hypertension was 57%, and diabetes was 44%. So obesity is bad by itself, but when we put obesity on top of somebody who already has hypertension, heart disease, or high blood pressure, I guess that's the same thing, or diabetes, then it just makes it double whammy. And we all know we would rather have one more than the other, and having both is just as bad. So if you add obesity with any of the above stats, then they increase. People who are obese have an increased risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, some forms of cancer, and high blood pressure, as I just said. So the change over time. I found this online, and this timeline shows obesity over time, which you see it increasingly is getting worse. So since the 1950s, obesity has grown every decade. According to Trust for America's Health 2016, showed that there is beginning to show a plateau in obesity amongst adults. So I did see this, and although the adult population is important, but I think they need to be focusing more on the children. Yes, the plateau is great, but we need to focus more, I believe, on the new generations to come. So policies in obesity. Early childhood education is increasing a healthy diet, physical activity, and limits on screen time. I saw that 10 of the states I have listed have a set definition for physical activity, which is great, but I do believe that we need all 50 states to have a set definition. If you don't have a well foundation around physical activity in schools, then I don't believe the children will be able to fully understand what this means. The entire United States has physical programs in their schools to promote physical activity, which I think is wonderful. So the BMI rates. Obviously, to calculate your BMI, you divide your weight by your height. The average healthy BMI ranges from 18.2 to 24.9. Individuals that are 25 to 29 BMI are considered overweight. BMI of 30 and above are considered obese. So I looked up the averages for both male and female, and for male it was 28.9, so in the obese category, or I'm sorry, the overweight, and then for females it was 26.9. So both male and female are considered the overweight BMI, but not too much. So if we would just lower that just a couple more, then it wouldn't be in the overweight range. Recess. Recess is now a requirement in only 4 states. Most elementary schools have cut recess out to play on the computer or iPads. Michelle Obama launched her campaign, Let's Move, in 2010. Her campaign was to promote more physical activity and healthier school lunches. So recess is the time where kids get to go outside, get some fresh air, some vitamin D, and just run around, get all their energy out before they have to come back and learn more. And I do think that if it's only required in 4 states, that's so alarming. Kids need to be able to go outside and play and not be on sedentary maybe options like being on the computer or the iPad, TV time. I think that's creating more habits inside of the school, to whereas when they go home, they'll only want to be on the iPad instead of going outside and doing physical activities. So the costs. The obesity epidemic has our nation in more than $150 billion in healthcare costs annually. Millions are lost in productivity. On average, obesity-related healthcare costs range from $279 to $768 per person per year, which isn't alarming because if the stats are going up, then you have to realize the healthcare costs are going up too, because more people are getting sick because of all of the chronic diseases that come with obesity. For low-income families. Studies show that families that are low income are more likely to have obese children. Some mothers say it is because the convenience of being able to feed your whole family through a drive-through. Studies show that the more unhealthy foods are, the cheaper they are at the grocery stores. I worded that a little weird. Also, it is more likely for children to become obese if their parents are obese. So I do agree with this 100%. If the parents are creating these unhealthy habits, going out to eat, not going grocery shopping, going through the drive-thru, then as teenagers, young adults, these kids are going to do exactly what they were taught when they were younger. And you can't always blame it on the parents if they only have a certain amount of income and they don't have the proper education to be able to pick out the good foods in the grocery stores. Then you're just setting them up for failure. For all the families that are on SNAP, or the mothers and children that are in the WIC programs, the government assistance, and they don't have the proper education to know what to buy, then they're just getting this money and not knowing what foods to really give their children. Race and gender. I thought this was interesting. Different races have different BMIs. So for white males it was 20.0, for white females it was 22.4, African American male was 21.3, African American female was 37.4, Mexican American male 23.1, Mexican American female 34.2, and then all race ethnic groups male 19.9, and all race ethnic groups female 24.9. So you see that the African American female had the worst BMI, so that's overly obese at 37.4. So in my conclusion, I wanted to show that the safety of our community has been compromised through obesity. I thought that was interesting that most people don't think that firefighters, policemen are going to be in the obese category, and most of them are. So I wrote that our first responders, police officers, firefighters, and other key roles of protection in our community are overweight. 70% of our firefighters are obese. Police officers have a shorter life expectancy compared to the public because of the higher risk of cardiovascular events. We all need to work together to help this epidemic decrease, especially in our upcoming generations. I do believe this 100%. We need to start with the children, as I said all throughout my presentation. We just need to teach them healthy habits so they can increase their healthy habits throughout life. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.